Hey everyone, welcome. In this video, we are going to learn about the basics of JavaScript coding on HatchXR, and we are going to use that knowledge to build a very simple rocket launch project. So you can see I have the rocket launch project open here, and the code of this project is written on the left side here. And the way this project works is you have a rocket on top of this moon, and we can control the movement of this rocket using the left, right, and down arrow keys on the keyboard. So we can make the rocket go up, go down, go left, and go right using the up, down, left, right arrow keys. And then we can make the rocket stop moving by pressing the space key. So we will learn how this code actually works, and then we will learn to write the entire code by ourselves. Alright, so let's get started. So first of all, this is the completed project and you will have access to the final output link in the description of the video. But we are going to start coding on this template project here. So this is the template project link and this will also be available to you in the description of the video. Only difference between the template project link and the final project link is that the template project link doesn't contain any code here. So you can see when I go to the code tab of the template project, the code area is completely empty. So this is where we are going to learn to write our code. Alright, so let me first close this final output link and full screen my window here. So when you open up this template project link, you will be greeted with the design tab. Okay, you will be greeted with the design of the game here. So let's understand what are the objects present in our game. Then we will understand how to code our game. Alright, so here you can see the left panel contains the names of all the objects present in our game. And you can see that there are not a lot of objects present. There is a player object that's basically you in the game. Okay, player object defines where you are going to be present when you play the game, when you view the game. And then there is a camera object that acts as your eyes. So the camera helps you see the game. Now, along with that, you have a light object. This light object is illuminating the rocket and the moon here so that we are able to see the rocket and the moon object properly. And along with that, there is a moon object. So this is the big moon object on which the rocket is standing. And you can see the size of this moon object is really big. Yeah. And then along with that, we have a rocket ship object. So this is the rocket ship object. And this is the object that we are going to move up, down, left, right using our arrow keys. Along with that, we have some more light objects, and then there are stars in the background, and there is this image in the background that helps it look like the space. So now that we know what are the elements present in our design of the game, we can go to the code window and start coding the rocket's movement. So, and once your code workspace is open, you will see that as usual, there is nothing present in the code intent, right? So there's no code written here, and this is where we are going to learn to write our JavaScript code. So first of all, see, we are going to, what are we going to be doing? We are going to make the rocket change its position. Then we will learn to move the rocket using the arrow keys. Okay, these are the two things we have to do. Okay, so first of all, how do we make this rocket change its position? Through code. So we know that since it's a 3D game, the rocket has three position properties. It has an X position number, it has a Y position number, and it has a Z position number. You would have noticed that in the design tab as well. So you will notice that if you go back to the design tab and you click on your rocket object, you can see its position on the right side panel. You can see the position of your rocket is defined using X number, Y number, and a Z number. And its X, Y, and Z values are containing some numbers currently. So these numbers are defining where your object, where this rocket ship is going to be positioned in the game. So what we are going to be doing is we are going to be changing these numbers through code. We know that if we change these numbers in the design tab, we can move the object, right? But we are not going to be changing the number in the design tab. We are going to be changing the X, Y, and Z positions in the code window. So here Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you, first of all, how do we change an object's position, and then I will explain to you how that code will work. So you will notice that your code editor has a left panel here that contains the names of the objects present in your game. And here you can see the name of your rocket object available. So click on this name, click on the name rocket ship. And when you click on the name rocket ship, you will see another list of words appear on the right side. So these list of words are basically a bunch of JavaScript actions that you can perform on your rocket ship. So what happens is, see, we are coding using JavaScript. We are coding using JavaScript. And JavaScript is a computer language. And there are lots of different computer languages. And computer languages, they work the same way as human languages do. Every language has its own unique way of writing. So here we cannot, so if we want to tell our computer to make this rocket move up, we cannot just type move the rocket up. This will not work. This is something our computer will not understand. Okay, so what we have to do is we have to tell our computer, we have to give a specific set of instructions to our computer. That's all a program is. But whenever you write a program is just a set of instructions that tell your computer to perform an action. So this program can be written in a lot of different languages. Our computer, just like we have English, French, Spanish, Japanese, different ways of speaking to other human beings, similarly, there are different languages with which we can communicate with our machines, with our computers, with our phones, with any electronic device. So JavaScript is one of the most common computer languages present nowadays, and it's the most common language used over the internet. Any website you visit will contain some code written in JavaScript. Okay, so we are going to learn to write and communicate with our computers, with our machines using JavaScript. Now, as I told you, every language has its own unique way of writing. So how do I tell my computer to make this rocket go up using JavaScript? Because we do not know how to write in JavaScript right now. So that is why when you click on this rocket ship name here, this list of words that you see here are a bunch of JavaScript activities that you can perform using your object. So here, if you see in this list of words, there is this option called SetY. If you click on this SetY, you will notice that a line of JavaScript code is added to your scene. Alright, and then you have a black box here that tells you what exactly is the SetY activity going to do in your game. So if you read this, it says SetY is a function that updates the Y coordinate of your object's position. You can close this black box now. So basically what this is telling you is this line that has been added to your code now is an instruction for your computer to change the Y position of your rocket. And we know that the Y position is the up and down position. So changing the Y position will make your rocket go up and down. So let's see what exactly is this going to do. We have a line of code written here. Let's run the script and then understand what is happening in our game. So when you run the script here, you will notice that the rocket is no longer present in front of you. But if you look up, you will see that the rocket has moved up. And where has it moved? It has moved to a Y position of number 20. So basically what this line of code did is it told your computer to move the rocket ship object, to change the Y position of the rocket ship object, to set the Y position of the rocket ship object to the number 20. Okay, that is all this line of code is doing. And the way this is written is telling you first need to write the name of the object. So whenever you want to perform an activity on any of the 3D objects present in your game, you first write the name of the object. So the name of this rocket object is rocket ship. So when you write rocket ship and then say dot, So this is now telling my computer that I want to perform an action on the rocket ship object. And what action do I want to perform? I want to change its Y position. So to change the Y position of the object, the JavaScript code is SetY. Now you will notice that SetY is written with small s, e, and t, but a capital Y. Now, what happens is, in most of the computer languages, the capital letters and the small letters are treated as different characters. So here, if you were to write set and then small y, our computer will not recognize this as a set of instruction for itself. Okay, this is not a defined set of instruction. So we need to be very clear on what we are telling our computer to do and then write the code accordingly. So here I say set capital Y, and then this is followed by a pair of round brackets, and inside the pair of round brackets you give it a number. So SetY is a function that will move an object. Which object? The name of the object is defined before the SetY command, and they are separated by a dot. So SetY is followed by a pair of round brackets, and inside the round brackets, if you give a number, your selected object will move to that Y position, and you end the line with a semicolon. A semicolon in JavaScript indicates the end of line. So here you see it says rocketship.setY to the number 20. I can change this number to whatever I want. If I change this number to the number 10 and then run my script, you will notice that now my rocket doesn't go that high in the sky. It just goes to the Y position, the number 10. Alright. So SetY is a code that will change the Y position of your object. You can try changing this SetY number to any other value you want, and you will notice that anytime you run the script, your rocket will move to that number. So now that we know that we can use SetY to change the rocket's position, what else can we do with our rocket ship? We can use some more functions to change the rocket's X position, that is the left and right position. And then we can use a similar function to move the rocket forward and backward by changing the Z position, right? So let's see if we can do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ensure that my cursor is in a new line of code, and then I'm going to click on my rocket ship object here on the left panel. And if you scroll down, you will notice that above and below SetY, there are two more functions called SetX and SetZ. And SetX will help you change the X position of your rocket, and SetZ will help you change the Z position of your rocket. So we can click on SetX and you can close this black box. SetX is same as SetY. You can see the way SetX is written is very similar to the way SetY was written. You first tell your computer which object you want to move, and then follow that with a dot, and then you define what you want to do on the object. So I want to set the X position of the rocket ship to the number 5. Okay, so when I run the script, you will see that your object has moved diagonally up. So what's happened is your computer runs the lines of code one by one. So first it will read line number 11. That will tell your computer to change the Y position of the rocket to 10. And then it will read line number 14, where it will see that we are telling the computer to change the X position to the number 5. So move the rocket to the right. So it moves the rocket up, and then it moves the rocket right. Now similarly, if you were to say set the, let's say, Z position of the rocket to, let's say, minus 50. And if I run the script now, you see, now your rocket has moved 10 units up and it has moved 50 units back. Okay, Z is the back direction. Now you see, I just deleted the capital X from here and replaced that with a capital Z, and that is the SetZ function. So what we can do is, let me just delete this line of code from here, and I'm just going to manipulate this same line of code, this one line of code here. So I'm going to go back to SetX and going to say set X to, let's say, minus 5 and run the script. Now you see, my rocket has not moved up or down, it has not moved forward or backwards, it has only moved 5 units, minus 5 units on the x-axis. So see, SetX, SetY, SetZ, they help you move an object to a desired position. Now what's happening here is the moment you run the code, the moment you run the script, Your object, your rocket is appearing on this position that you are defining here. We don't want to do that. What we want to do is we want to make the rocket move smoothly. So how do we do that, right? Let me open up a whiteboard and show you what we need to do. So see, we have a rocket here. Okay, we have the rocket on the moon. Now, what we want to do is the rocket has an X, Y, and Z position. Now, we want to move this rocket up. What it means is we basically want to tell our computer to move the rocket, let's say, to a new Y position, right? And once it has moved the rocket to this new Y position, move the rocket again to slightly higher position. And if we tell our computer to keep on doing this action again and again, it will look like your rocket is moving up. So what we have to do is we have to tell our computer to change the Y position of the rocket again and again. But before we do that, see, what's happening here is we are telling our computer to move the rocket to a specific position. So when we start telling our computer to move the rocket up, up, and up, what we have to tell our computer is find out the current position of the rocket and then move the rocket some units up from that current position, right? Like wherever the rocket is presently, from that point, move the rocket. But what we need to do here is in our current code, we know that we are saying rocket ship dot set y and we are giving it a number. So if we just keep on giving it a number, we won't be able to identify where our rocket is currently at. So let's see, all I'm saying is we have a rocket. When we say rocket ship set y to 10, we are telling our computer to forget where the rocket is currently present and just move the rocket to the number 10 in the y-axis. But this is not taking into consideration where your rocket is currently at. What if we want to say that move the rocket 1 unit above the current position? What if we want to do this? We can't say rocket ship dot set y to 1. This is not correct for this action. If we want to move the rocket 1 unit above the current position, we cannot say rocket ship set y to the position of 1 because this is not going to, this is moving the rocket ship to the y position of number 1. The y-axis is a number line that has numbers, right? So it's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on, and then -1, -2, and so on below. Yeah. So this line of code is just telling your computer to move the rocket to this y position. Rocket ship set y to 1. This is not moving the rocket 1 unit above its current position. So to move the rocket 1 unit above its current position, see, what do we need to tell our rocket? We tell our computer to, first of all, find out the current, see, consider this as the y-axis, okay? Consider this the number 0. Then there are some values. This is the rocket's current y position. I'm going to call this A. So if this A is the current rocket's y position, if I want to move the rocket 1 unit above its current position, what will be the set y number? What number do we write inside set y? We write set y to A plus 1, right? A plus 1 is 1 unit above the current position, right? But what is this number A? Because we do not know what this number A is. So how do we tell our computer to find out what this number A is? Let's do that. Let's go to the code window and let's do that. So here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just ensure that my cursor is in a new line of code and then click on rocket ship here. And now you will see that in this list of JavaScript functions, we have a function called GetY. So if you click on GetY, you will see that you get a line of code that says rocketship.getY. And in the black box that explains what GetY does. If you read it, it will say that GetY is a function that returns the y coordinate of the object's position. So what this is telling us, even though we may not know what is the rocket's current y position, Okay, even though we may not know what is the rocket's current y position, this line of code, rocketship.getY, will tell your computer whatever the current y position of the rocket is. Your computer will automatically find out whatever the y position of the rocket is, and it will know from this line of code. So what we can tell our computer is use this value and whatever this number is. Rocketship.getY in the end is just a number. And what number is that? That number is the current y position of the rocket. That number is this number A. So if I go back to my editor here, if I tell my computer to find out the current y position of the rocket ship, then add 1 to it. See, we are just adding 1 to the current y position of the number of the rocket. And then whatever this new number is, set the y position of the rocket to that number. Then, as a result, it will make the rocket move 1 unit above the current y position. Let's see if it works or not. So I'm going to this rocketship.getY plus 1. I'm going to select this entire line of code, cut it from here, and paste it inside the round brackets of SetY. Okay, so I will paste it here. Cool. So now I have a new line of code. It tells my computer that it says SetX. Let me change it to SetY. So I'm just deleting the capital X from here and changing it to capital Y. So now we are telling our computer to set the Y position of the rocket ship to what? To the number inside the round brackets. And the number inside the round brackets is telling my computer to find out the current y position of the rocket and add 1 to that number. Increase that number by 1. So this line of code should ideally move the rocket 1 unit above its current position. So now when you run the script, you will notice that the rocket has moved just barely up. So it has moved 1 unit above its current position. How do we know whether this has worked or not? Well, let me show you. If I say rocketship.setY to get y plus 0, what is it telling our computer? It's telling our computer that set the y position of the rocket ship to the current y position of the rocket ship plus 0. So ideally, if we run this code and what we are saying is true, then this line of code would set the y position of the rocket ship to the current y position. Basically, not move the rocket at all. Yeah. So when you run the script, you will see that the rocket has not moved at all. If you say in place of 0, if you say -1, then what will it do? It will move the rocket 1 unit downwards from its current position. So see, we know that this code is working because what we are expecting by changing this number to happen in the game is actually happening here. All right. So yeah, now that we have learned how to move the rocket with respect to its current position, now see what we can do is if we want to make the rocket go up, like go up continuously, what we can tell my computer to do is we can copy this line of code and then paste it again and again, and basically tell my computer to, hey, move the rocket 1 unit above its current position, then move the rocket 1 unit above its current position again, and keep on doing that basically 5 times, right? So now if I run the script, we should see the rocket move. Yep, let's run the script. We did not see the rocket move. What happened here? So what's happening is, see, our computer runs the lines, all of these lines of code one by one. So here it will first execute the action of line number 11. That's moving the rocket 1 unit above the initial position. All right. And then it will execute the command in line number 13, where it says move the rocket 1 unit above the next position, right? So this same action will keep on happening 5 times. Now what happens is our computer reads all of these lines of code at a very fast speed. It reads them at a very, very fast speed. So even though ideally our rocket is actually moving 1 unit up 5 different times, because our computer runs all of these lines of code at a very fast speed, we are not seeing the rocket move. We just see the rocket finally appear 5 units above after the last line of code has executed. Okay, see, all of these lines of code eventually is telling our computer to, in the end, move the rocket 5 units up total, because I'm running this line of code 5 times. So because after line number 19 nothing else is going to happen in the game, so we are seeing the rocket just overall appear 5 units above the initial position. So how do we tell our computer to basically keep on running this line of code again and again, but give it some pause in between, right? If we can figure out a way to basically tell our computer to, hey, run this line of code and then wait for some time, and then run this line of code and then wait for some time, right? And then run this line of code and then wait again. So then when we run the code, what will happen is we would actually be seeing the rocket move up. So let's understand how we can do that. So first of all, you see here what I did was I copied and pasted this line of code again and again 5 different times. And that is not a good way to program stuff, okay? Programming is about efficiency. Meaning that telling your computer what to do in as less number of instructions as possible. So when you see yourselves copying and pasting a certain line of code again and again, it is not an efficient code. It is not an efficient way to write the code. There should be some better way to tell your computer to do that action. So here, what I want to do is I want to tell my computer to repeat this action, this line of code again and again. So we are going to use something called timers. So let me show you what a timer does. Ensure that your cursor is in a new line of code, and you will notice on the left hand side there is an option called timers. Just click on timers and you will see that there is an option called create timer. So you get two options, create timer, remove timer. We will learn about remove timer later on, but click on create timer. Now when you click on create timer, you see you get a black box that tells you what exactly is this create timer function going to do, and you get some new lines of code here. So let's understand what's happening here. Create timer, let's read this black box. Create timer calls a function repeatedly after a specified amount of time. So let's close this and let's figure out what this means. You see, inside this create timer code, there is a line that is telling me your code goes here. Okay, so let's follow what this gray line of code is telling me. It's telling me to write my code here, right? So I'm just going to copy paste this line of code from here. So I'm going to select this line of code and cut it from here. Press Ctrl X or Command X on your computer and paste it here inside, just below the line that says your code goes here. And now I'm going to click on run script and let's see what happens in the game. So you will notice that now by just putting this line of code inside my timer function, we can see the rocket is moving up, is moving 1 unit up again and again every 1 second. See? Yeah. So let's understand what exactly is this timer doing and how is the code for the timer written here. Okay, let me reset my code. And first of all, let me show you what exactly are these gray lines. So you see, even during the beginning of our lesson, I was writing these lines here, starting the lines using 2 backslashes. And even when we got this timer added here, the timer had this gray line that was starting with these 2 backslashes. So these gray lines are called comments. Comments are basically like stuff that you write in your code that you don't want your computer to run. Comments are just for readers, for the person viewing the code to understand how the code is written. Whenever you start a line with 2 backslashes, your computer tells your code that, hey, this is just a comment, you don't have to run this line of code, and you can write whatever you want here. And the use of comments is that when you have a big complex code, and you share your code with other people for everyone else to understand what exactly is your code doing, how your code is functioning, it's good to write comments inside your code to make it easier for others to understand. All right. And when you add those lines, we don't want our computers to execute those lines of comments, right? So that is why we start them with two gray lines, these backslashes. So these are called comments. Now, what I'm going to do is, you see, when you added this timer function here, it added this way. So it says hatch.createTimer. Hatch.createTimer is how you define the timer code. So when you say capital HATCH dot create, then capital T timer, follow it with a pair of round brackets, this is telling my computer to add a timer in my code. And what exactly is a timer doing? A timer's activity is to run its commands again and again after a specified amount of time. So here we know that this line of code has the action of making the rocket move 1 unit up, 1 unit above its current position. And what the timer is doing is, this timer is just running this line of code again and again and again and again after every 1 second. So the way the timer is defined is, you say hatch.createTimer, follow it with a pair of round brackets. Now inside the round brackets, so you see, even when you said rocketship.SetY, right? Rocketship.SetY, you followed that with a pair of round brackets. And then inside the round brackets, you gave your computer a number. So now SetY is a predefined action in HatchXR. It's a predefined function. A function is a set of code that tells your computer to perform an activity. So SetY is a predefined instruction in HatchXR that tells your computer to change the Y position of the specified object to the number written inside the round brackets. So inside the round brackets, whatever you write, that's called an input. Now, what happens is, different functions can take in different amount of inputs. SetY just needs one number inside of its round brackets. That's it. But a timer needs 3 inputs. Each of these inputs are separated by a comma. So a timer needs, first of all, it needs input 1, that is called the name of a timer. And you enclose the name of your timer inside single or double quotes. So you will see here your clock timer, it says hatch.createTimer, and it's followed with this clock timer, you see. So this is the name of your timer. You can have multiple timers in your code, and each timer needs to have a unique name. Okay, so whenever you want to turn on and off specific timers, you can use the name of your timer to tell your computer which timer to turn on, which timer to turn off. All right, so you have the name of your timer. So it says clock timer. Whenever you're having multiple timers, you need to ensure that each timer has a unique name. So, and the name is enclosed inside double quotes, like this. So you have the first input as the name of your timer, then you add a comma, and now you add the second input. The second input is a number. This number tells your computer the time after which it needs to run its activity again. So this time is set in terms of milliseconds. So when you say 1000, your computer understands that it needs to run everything again and again after every 1000 millisecond. Now 1000 millisecond is equal to 1 second. So if you want to tell your computer to run some line of code after every 2 seconds, you will have to write the number 2000. So this is the second number here. And then the third number is your code that is going to run again and again. And we enclose that in this format. So the third input, so after 1000, after the number, you write a comma, and then you write the word function. Function is a set of instructions, a set of code that tell your computer to do something. All right. So you write the word function, follow it with a pair of round brackets, and then follow it with a pair of curly brackets. So now inside the curly brackets, you can write whatever code you want, and whatever you are writing inside the curly brackets is the activity your computer will repeat again and again after the specified time. So you see here, what is happening is this rocketship.SetY to rocketship.GetY plus 1. This is written inside the curly brackets of your function. So that is why this action is running again and again after every 1000 milliseconds. So when you run the script, it looks like the rocket ship is moving up, up, up every 1 second. So now what was happening was, when we were running this code, the rocket was jumping up by 1 unit every 1 second. It was not a very smooth animation. We want the rocket to have a smooth animation. So what we can do is, see, we have two numbers here. We have the amount of time after which the rocket is going to move, and we have the distance after which the distance that the rocket is going to jump. So what we can do is, we can change these two numbers, this 1 and this 1000 here, to some values of our own to make it look like the rocket is moving smoothly. So let's first of all try to reduce the distance the rocket is jumping. So rather than moving it 1 unit every 1000 milliseconds, I say move the rocket by 0.1 unit every 1000 milliseconds. So now I'm saying run this line of code every 1 second, but move the rocket by a very small distance. And let's see the effect it has in our game. So now you see the rocket is jumping by very small distance. It's still moving every 1 second, but it's moving by very small units, very small distance. So it's a bit smoother, but the rocket is moving very slowly. Okay, this 1000 is really high. Moving the rocket after every 1 second is a very large time. So we can reduce the amount of time after which the rocket is moving. So let me reset this. And in place of saying 1000 millisecond, what I can do is I can say let it move after every 20 millisecond. And let's see what happens then. So when I run the script now, you see my rocket is moving so smoothly. Awesome, right? So what we are doing is, you can try to change these numbers. You can try to change these numbers to control the speed of your rocket. See, increasing the distance that your rocket will jump will increase the speed of your rocket, and increasing the time will slow down your rocket, right? So if you say jump 0.1 units, but every 50 milliseconds, then your rocket will move slower. See, now your rocket is moving slower than it was moving earlier. But if you let's say 50 milliseconds, I say my rocket to jump every 0.2 units. Now your rocket will move a bit faster. So we know that increasing the distance is making my rocket go faster. Reducing the time is making my rocket go faster. So a good combination of these two numbers will make it look like my rocket is moving smoothly. So that's what this 20 and 0.1 is doing now. If you want, you can change this 0.1 to, let's say, 0.05. And now your rocket will still be moving smoothly, but a bit slower, right? If you say move the rocket by 0.2 units every 20 milliseconds, your rocket will move smoothly but faster. So now we know that we can control the speed of our rocket by just changing this value here. Alright, so yeah, we have learned how to make the rocket move using a timer and how to make it move smoothly. I think we can close our session today at this point. And in our next lesson, we are going to control the motion of our rocket using the keyboard buttons. Alright, so see you guys in the next part. Bye-bye.